In 1962, uncontrollable laughter broke out in a Tanzanian school and spread to over 1,000 people across multiple villages. The laughter lasted up to 16 days per person and closed schools for 6 months. This was not the laughter of people who found something funny. The students who were affected could not stop. They were in physical distress. Some also cried, fainted, screamed, or developed rashes. And the episode spread, person to person, village to village, in a pattern that looked exactly like an infectious disease. On January 30th, 1962, 3 students at the Kashasha mission school on the western shore of Lake Victoria, in what was then Tanganyika, present-day Tanzania, began laughing uncontrollably. They could not explain why. They could not stop. Within hours, more students had joined them. Within days, 95 of the school's 159 pupils were affected. The laughter episodes lasted from minutes to hours in individual students, returning in waves. They were accompanied in many cases by crying, restlessness, and respiratory distress. The teachers were not affected, only students. The school was closed on March 18th, 6 weeks after the outbreak began, when it became clear that normal operation was impossible. The affected students were sent home. This was the decision that spread the epidemic beyond the school. When the students returned to their home villages, the laughter followed them. Families members of affected students began showing symptoms. The outbreak spread to the village of Nshamba, then to other nearby communities. By June 1962, the epidemic had reached the town of Ramashenye near Bukoba, affecting students at a girls' middle school. By August, it had spread to Tanganyika. The outbreak eventually affected at least 14 schools and more than 1,000 people across multiple villages and towns. Individual episodes of laughter lasted anywhere from a few minutes to 16 continuous days. Those most severely affected were unable to attend school, work, or function. Symptoms beyond laughter included crying, falling, screaming, rashes on the skin, and difficulty breathing. Several people required medical attention. Authorities ordered multiple schools closed. Entire communities were disrupted. Government health officials were sent to investigate. The investigators could find no physical cause, no toxin, no pathogen, no contaminated food or water source. What they were observing was a textbook case of what modern psychiatry calls mass psychogenic illness, previously known as mass hysteria, a phenomenon in which psychological stress produces genuine physical symptoms that spread socially through a community. The symptoms were not faked. The people experiencing uncontrollable laughter were genuinely experiencing it. Their bodies were doing something they could not control. But the trigger was not biological. It was psychological and social. The Kashasha school was a mission school that imposed strict academic standards and strict discipline on students from communities that were also experiencing the severe social disruption of the independence period. Tanganyika was in the process of becoming an independent nation, with all the uncertainty and upheaval that implied. The students were under extraordinary pressure. Mass psychogenic illness tends to strike in closed social groups under prolonged stress, particularly where there is a dominant authority structure that limits normal emotional expression. The trigger can be almost anything. Once one person displays the symptom, others who share the same emotional state follow. The epidemic lasted approximately 18 months in total, counting all affected communities. It ended not through any medical intervention, but through the gradual dispersal of the populations involved and the eventual passing of the acute social stress that had triggered it. The Tanganyika laughter epidemic is one of the best documented cases of mass psychogenic illness in the historical record. It has been studied extensively by psychiatrists and social scientists because of its scale, its detailed contemporary documentation, and the clarity with which it demonstrates the mechanism by which genuine physical symptoms can spread through a social network without any biological cause. It is also regularly misrepresented. The people involved were not laughing because they thought something was funny. They were suffering. Several required medical care. The communities affected lost months of economic and educational productivity. Laughter epidemic is a name that makes the event sound lighter than it was. Uncontrollable laughter that spread person to person, village to village, across 18 months, affecting over 1,000 people, closing 14 schools, in an episode with no biological cause and no clear ending. The laughter epidemic that shut down schools for 6 months. One of the clearest demonstrations in recorded history that the human nervous system, under the right conditions of stress and social pressure, can produce symptoms that look nothing like their cause. These people were not happy. They were not amused. They were in a country in the middle of transforming itself, in schools that demanded discipline they found crushing, and their bodies found a release valve. It just happened to look like laughter. Subscribe if you want more. See you in the next one.